Yes, hi, this is Jim Durkin. Thank you for attending today's webinar on custom tables for Impact Suite. We have a guest presenter, Tom Najemy, will be joining us rather shortly. And what I wanted to show you is, of course, is ACT version 16 running on this presentation right now with custom tables installed. So what we have is the classic Chris Huffman's record. And on Chris Huffman's record, what you will see with Impact installed is you'll see an enhanced navigation bar. But also you're going to see additional tabs at the bottom. We've actually installed an automobile table. These are one-to-many tables. Just like activities, you can have 5 activities attached to Chris Huffman. I can have multiple automobiles attached to them. And here I have a Camaro attached to them. And if I just come along and double-click on that, I get a data entry screen. Here's my data entry screen for that custom tables automobile. Now on our custom tables we have multiple layouts, just the way ACT has. If you go to the upper toolbar here, ACT has different layouts for the contact view. We have different layouts that we can have on the same record on this automobile. So I'm going to go into one that says, that's the one I've been on, Perfect ACT. And you can see we're capturing or viewing different information. This is really powerful when you're tracking information through multiple stages of the company. You may have order placement, people that need to see these 20 fields, order fulfillment and processing, so different users in the ACT database can be looking at different information of the same record. Again, this is still the Camaro that we're looking at. We're just looking at it in many different views. So let's just look at one more table here. Let's go to equipment table. So we can attach, again, multiple pieces of equipment, but we can also have child table. So this is our equipment record, and you can see this is a Hobart deli slicer piece of equipment, but I have service tickets on here. So underneath I have many service tickets attached to our piece of equipment, and if I open up one of my service tickets, you can see I have the service ticket view. So the concept is additional information that you need to record in the ACT database, such as pieces of equipment, service calls, invoicing, projects, anything that you can bucket in that we can do in the custom tables. So what I want to do now is transfer the control of the meeting over to Tom Najemy. He's an ACC. He's been using our product. I think Tom will give you an estimate of it. I think it's 2 years now. Let me get Tom involved. Hello, Tom. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, I'm learning my webinar control panel as we speak. Now let's make you the presenter. So I'm going to make Tom the presenter. Okay, again, Tom is going to take over from now. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to use the questions panel, and I'll be sitting here answering any of them that come up. Go ahead, Tom. Take it away.
Hi, everybody. Okay, with just a little quick history, with the release of ACT 2008, custom tables became an option. There were several people that got involved, and maybe I think about 4 or 5 different developers. Some of them have dropped off, and the Durkin table has been the one that I've adopted for my customers. As Jim mentioned, ACT has certain built-in one-to-many relationships. So before custom tables, we had this one-to-many for histories, notes, activities, and opportunities. What did we do before custom tables? Something like this, where we had to create this particular one is a financial firm tracking up to 7 different, instruments, be it an IRA, SEP IRA, Roth, etc. And not a very efficient way to go about it. You're using the same amount of space per record, whether you've got 10 transactions and no transactions, and queries are rather cumbersome. When do you need a custom table? Well, it's to track any situation where the contact record, you'd have more than one instance of it. Our implementations is listed below. We've done events, financial instruments, quotations, sales opportunities the way the client wants it. I find that the ACT sales opportunity sometimes and go into product and things like that is a bit cumbersome. Also, the nice thing about this is you can cross tables, which I'm going to show you later on. Purchasing orders, I did a company that's a broker for used toner cartridges, a design and build company with change orders and warranty tracking, RMA tracking, service contracts, equipment tracking, financial portfolios, and even a company that put trades in ACT. These are the ready-made templates from Durkin. So when you go to, say, import a template, these are the ones you'll find available to you. It's a good place to start if you haven't done a table before, kind of give you an idea how they all work. What follows are going to be some screenshots of some of the work that I've done. I've come up with the designs usually as a result of a brainstorming meeting using Mind Manager from MindJet. Then we end up doing a prototype for review, and then in some of these cases we've imported the data using the import portion of the Durkin Table List Plus. So here's an example of a booking agency. They had several, you'll notice there's a tab function here from contract to event to venue to flights and hotels and ground transportation. Calculations here for their contracts. The deposits come in and they get, the balance gets calculated, and also the speaker, the net for the speaker and the commission for the agent. On the next screen, we've got more details about the event. You'll notice on the top half of this is the same, but as we go through this on the tabs, the lower half is what's changing. So we've got venue information, flight and hotel. This flight here, if I click on this button, of course this is a screenshot, I would end up getting another custom table, the child table for the flights. And then ground transportation information. This next one is a project tracking situation where they also needed, there was so much data in that one custom table that we needed this ability to have the various tabs within the one table. And this is another, but on a different, looking at their sales strategy. This is a business journal. The business journal has purchase orders, and then within each purchase order they have what's called an insertion order, basically their line item. And you would end up putting in one date, and then you would duplicate them as you go and just change the date, everything else remaining the same. And all of this merges into a Word document to provide the client, their client, with their quotation or invoice.
Hold on, sorry, Tom, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
A couple of people have said, they said your audio dropped out, but it's back on now. Okay, all right, I'll let you continue on. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. This one here is a trades tracking. Essentially, they're putting in as the trades happen, essentially, real time. This one is a manufacturer of testing equipment, purchase order, once again, totals, and then down here you'll notice that there is a product. They would click on this button here and they would end up getting a product table. This is their product table, which is a child of the one above. This button here, if they clicked on select product, would enter, and they would select the product and it would fill in the name, the price, and a description as well to cut down on the data entry, and then this is the rest of the information they needed. Also down at the bottom of this, they have a RMA form, their repairs form, and this is the repairs form. Also has several calculations inside it. Quotation tracking, this is for an auto leasing company. You know, they would have all these little buttons here, are who's this assigned to, who's the salesperson, new or used, ordered, etc. Sales opportunity tracking, this was a security company that needed a very specific situation, and what was key for them was bringing in some of the fields from the contact screen in addition, whereas if I used sales opportunity from ACT, I wasn't going to get that. This one is a very involved one. There was up to 5 tables involved. This is a purchase order. Down below we bring in the first instrument by clicking on this bound down here. This would be the first instrument. Within that instrument we have again selecting the product. That would fill in the product description, part numbers. And then we have 3 other child tables, the module, the service request, and the warranty. Here's the module layout. For each module or instrument, there would be a service request or warranty. Here we have the service request, including a button to create a service call right after, as you're putting in that service request. This here is their warranty table. A buy and sell broker input form. This calculates, does several calculations, and then in this green area under buy or not would indicate whether they buy it or they don't buy it or they need to ask permission to buy it. This is the line item for what was up above. This would be the new line item down here, and this is the line item entry, and there's a select item which would give them the items to pick from, and all of this would be filled in on the form. This is a home remodeling firm, a contractor. They wanted quite a bit. So there's their basic project information, sales manager, kitchen and bath designer, architectural designer, project stats in terms of the status of the project. And down here, if there's a change order, that change order gets added up to the top and also recalculates. And down over on this side, we've got the warranty. This is their warranty form. This is their change order form. And this one here is equipment tracking, which I'm going to show you actually a live one on this one in a minute. These people provide testing for gas wells, and they've got specs that they keep on the well and where's the lease, what's the city. And then in addition, they've got the vessels and the shipments, which are these next two screens. And then also a client financial profile form as well. So let's take a look at the list view options in ACT. I'm just going to do that, and then we're going to open up for questions. I've taken the liberty of taking a few ACT consultants' names in this, you may notice. Okay, so here I've got, if I want to, let's take a look at the form, actually. So here's the form. All this data was imported. And we can break up, in terms of reporting, we can break it up by contact. We can break it up essentially by anything, groups and subgroups. So let's say that I wanted to get this by company, and that company is coming from the contact table. Doesn't have to be in your custom table. And then I've gone ahead and asked for a breakdown. So now I can see this company's got 3 crushers, and this company here has 2 screens. In addition, just going to drag that off, drag this down. You can also you've got the ability to search on certain items, which you wouldn't have been able to do in those old grids we had. So let's say I want to find all screening plans. And then I can subgroup it and look for the conditions, let's say, in a certain state or whatever. Then we've got charts. And in this case, I told it to give me a chart breakdown by description. I could change this chart, and I could say I'd like to see it by manufacturer. And I got a much more convoluted one. In addition, there's also you can set your width in terms of whether you want monthly, weekly, so there's a lot of scaling going on in here as well. And you can pick whatever field you want to do it on. This here you would pick from a field that's in the custom table, not from the contact table that's attached to this. And that's really, because we only have a half hour, I wanted to go ahead and open this up for questions at this point. So Jim?
Okay, thanks Tom. Yeah, there's been a few questions I've been answering on the side here, of course, that have been coming in. I mean, some of the questions were dealing with what you were going over here in the end. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Tom was showing you here. What he's got here is the equipment table master list view. Again, just like activities where you have an activity tab attached to a contact, but you want to see all the activities in the database, we have the master list of equipment. And that's what Tom is working on here. So this equipment is all the equipment attached to all the end users in the database. Now, equipment is nice, but imagine if this is a projects or an event tracking system. I would see all the events or projects and what stage they're in right here. And each user can view it and filter it differently. I may be the data entry person on the project tracking, and I'm going to sort it and group it the way Tom was showing. But I also may be the accounting department that says, well, I only want to see closed activity. So I can set that layout to say, show me everything projects have been closed because I need to generate an invoice for it. Okay, let me read off a couple of more questions. Oh, well, actually, let's roll back up a second here. Somebody asked how to implement custom tables. How do you add a custom table? We said what types of templates. Tom, if you just want to go to the Tools menu to go to, Impact, well, Impact Suite will be in the Tools menu. And then if we go to Tables here, this is a list of all the tables that are currently inside of the database. So what you can do is we have right at the bottom, there's a create blank, use a template, or import. So you can just add the tables right here using one of those three mechanisms. If you want to drill in and manage these tables a little bit differently, Tom, hit the Manage Table button, or Custom Tables. You can do it that way. And so now you have a drop-down of those tables, and you're seeing a more granular view. You're seeing each field, just the way ACT has. You can go and modify and adjust any of the field descriptors, add a new field, subtract a field. When those fields are added, of course, they will be available in the list views and for the data entry views. Okay, question about it.
Go ahead.
The standalone, somebody saw that. If you click close here, Tom, and you go to Tools to Impact Suite again, we are working on this. It's not 100%. We haven't really advertised this as a full working feature. Go to Tables for us, Tom. And somebody noticed it says create a standalone view outside of ACT. What that's going to do in the end, again, it works about 90% of the time, we're still adjusting it, is you'll have an icon on your desktop, and you can launch that icon, and it's just going to take you to the equipment view. It's actually not going to launch ACT. It's just going to have the equipment list view. Some people have been using that, say if they have an event tracking, or we had a BMW automobile shop, and it was the bays, and when they were scheduling, the transmission guy and the windshield wiper specialist, and they're very specialized, they would leave that view up on a monitor running in the bay, so the guy knew he had a 4 o'clock coming in, he had to move this car off of that bay. So that's what the standalone views are. It's a way to facilitate just a single view without ACT running. Okay. Okay. Cancel. Close that, Tom. I keep asking Tom because he's a presenter, but I can't drive his screen right now. The headers. Go back to put on the charts. Sorry. On the charts, as Tom was saying, there's some functionality to do this. You can get very granular in this charting system in here, and I'm going to just show you the granular one. Yeah, hit create date. That's fine, Tom.
They're all created at the same time.
Yeah, right. But users may say, well, I don't like the blue. I don't like this. I want it to be a completely different chart. Tom, on the lower left, there's a chart wizard. And now this is going to open up something that you can go in here and adjust if you want bubbles or points or lines or stack charts or 3D, any type of chart that's really available out there today. This is a third-party tool that we use. I didn't write a whole charting system. It's from a company called DevExpress. It sells tools to us developers. So there are very granular things on here that you can do, changing the axis and things like that. So client may give you, to our resellers online, the client may say, I want it to look like this. You can get really close and say, okay, I'll take that look, and I'll look in Durkin Tools, and there's the chart that I have. By default, the charts that we have when you install the product, we're just giving you very simplified bar charts by default. Okay, you can just cancel out of that, Tom. Okay, a couple of questions I know people are having get very granular. It's almost client-specific, so I'll take those offline with those questions again about something that's very specific to somebody's data. Somebody is asking about ACT for Web, custom tables in ACT for Web. Well, on Monday the 25th of this month, we do have our webinar, ACT for Web and Custom Tables. So you want to join that one to get a more detailed. But the answer is yes, custom tables will show up in ACT for Web. Now, they are limited functionality, of course. The charting system isn't available on the web. The filter system is available. So lookup, as Tom was showing you, that is available. So there are some ebb and flows. Web version of ACT is HTML5, and HTML5, as good as we know it is, still isn't good as a full-on desktop application. So some of the functionality isn't there. So we just would have to discuss it with you to see it, whether your entire system can roll out straight to the web. Okay, any other questions at this time? Okay, Tom, anything you want to wrap up with? I know we're wrapping up a few minutes early, which is kind of unique, but anything that you want to cover that you have not?
No, I don't think so. I mean, those are the key things that I thought we should present. So. Okay.
Well, here is actually a great question, kind of a suggestion. Can Tom relate some of his business experience success stories as an ACC, I guess, in using this tool? You showed us some of your screenshots were very detailed, but can you go in and talk about one specifically, what their pain points were and how this was the tool that kind of resolved that pain point?
Well, actually, we could use this one here.
This is Tom's. This is MindJet, right, Tom?
Right, Mind Manager.
Mind Manager. I don't use his tools personally. Tom does. I've seen him use it. I've seen him do presentations at it. And Tom, just talk about this tool for a few minutes and how this helps you kind of organize the data patterns before you start implementing Impact.
So what happened with this particular one was the client actually, this was pre-Act 2008, and the only way I could have them track their instruments was basically by using groups for the instruments. So their one-to-many ended up being that a contact might be attached to the group side. Well, we went through what we had designed in the group side and then went even further and then developed it way beyond what they had and came up with all of this. And this was a brainstorming session that went on for quite amount of hours. And what you're seeing here in these different tags, well, this here is an indication that there are 8 new fields. So I would know as I'm going and creating this, I need to create all these eight new fields. And then the characteristics are here in terms of what's a date field, et cetera, what's limit to list, et cetera, et cetera. So this tool, and I mean, this was a client that had been with me for a while, but as I said, we use groups, but this was a way to get us out of group, and ever since they did this, they've really been very much into it. As a matter of fact, they're owned by a German company that keeps saying they're going to make a product to replace ACT, and this is going on 4 years now, and they still haven't made that product because these people have gotten so much data into this now. I don't know if the German company will ever be able to do it. So essentially, what I do is I get together with the client, and I'll show you one other thing. If you've been to my presentation, where is it? Starting point. Oh, here. So this is how I start with a client that has nothing. Basically, they don't have ACT. And then we talk about ACT out of the box, and then we start talking about adding new fields and what would be the drop-downs, et cetera, et cetera. If they've been using ACT for a while, then it'd be more like this one, where I take their database, put it in a mind map, and say, guys, let's take a look at this for a second. But your ID status, just as an example, I'll cut this short. Your ID status in the drop-down list was this, and yet your entries was all of this. And we actually have to get together and decide where does this stuff go.
Yeah, what I like about what Tom does with this, and it's not just his tool, but it's also Tom's philosophy when he goes into a client, is he makes them look at their data entry pattern before they start putting a new interface layer on top of ACT. I mean, you can sit down with a client and sit there and just drag fields onto our designer and say, oh, you want this field, you want this field, you want that field. The designer will do that. It'll do it quickly for you, the impact designer. What Tom does is, as a true consultant, goes in there and says, well, why are you doing that? It forces them to ask a question which they never ask themselves. So sometimes sitting down and spending those few hours, or in something as complex as this, spending the day or two with the client, helping them analyze their information workflow into the system, not only is going to make the data entry easier, the implementation easier, the adoption easier to the end users, but in the end, you don't even think of things like the reporting system now gets easier. You don't have all these hiccups that they were doing and all these bad practices, that those custom hours that you spend in the front is going to make the project at every level all the way through the reporting system that much more easier. So you're not really offloading and saying, well, I'm just going to be charging you another 8 hours of work, because the reports are going to get so much easier when Tom has designed it on the front side. He's going to be able to design reports in an hour, where with a really bad data entry pattern, hey, each report that the user wants in a very specific format may take a day to do. You may be putting 8 days on the back end by not putting the day on the front end to have them critically look at their data.
I was going to say one other thing to that. Oh, at the end of this presentation with them, I send them a copy of this brainstorming session. They don't have to have Mind Manager. It goes out as a PDF using Flash Player. And so they'll get this they'll get the whole discussion is in their hands at the end of the meeting. And this documents what we agreed to.
Now, Tom, Mind Manager is one product. What are some of the other products that help you do, or that are out there on the market that other people may know of, that help you do the information? Is like Microsoft's, not project, but something like that, which is kind of a free-form designer. Is there any other ones out there?
No, this is pretty much the one I use, and then I'll use add-ons to get projects done from Designer One or Snap-in Tools.
Okay. Okay, well, thanks for that, Tom. I think it was off our, our list today to actually go into the Mind Manager.
Right.
Okay. All right, y'all. I think I've answered all the questions. We are coming up to the 10:30, so I wanted to, of course, thank Tom for taking his time out today and showing us what he's been doing with the tool, and of course, thank all the members of the audience here, the attendees, for coming. We will be recording this and posting this on our website. I'll also be sending everybody information how to contact Tom, because if you have some questions that are specific to Tom, I'm sure he'll like to take those offline. If you want to contact me, again, I'll send that information. If you want to attend additional webinars, we have a whole series going this month. You just go to durkincomputing.com. Towards the bottom of our homepage, you're going to see all the additional webinars scheduled for this month. Again, I want to thank everybody for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, bye.